Now, if we proceed to taking a look at our AI, sorry, our SIP configuration, how we connect with our tracking number, um, I'm just going to quickly expand on create new here and just highlight a couple of critical things before switching to the page that documents SIP configuration. So a very critical part is your contact number. Um, which you need to specify an A194 format, something with your country code, maybe like +1 for North America or +44 for UK in that pattern. So just probably just put a dummy, say +1, I don't know, 587, 660, 2344. So that's a critical thing you need in here. Everything in here, if you're not sure, you can just leave as it is. For sure, if you're not in North America, you can just change to a PCMA codec so that you can support your telephones at that side of the world. Um, you could want to record SIP, something you want to indicate as well. SIP only mode, I've already touched on the fact that everything runs in the meeting room. If you don't want the human ever joining the call, you want to switch to SIP only mode. And even for days, if you want to override this, or if you follow the documentation in the rooms, you'll see how to still force join the room with SIP only mode with some uh, secure secrets. So aside the basic routing information, which isn't that much difficult, you want to also pick a provider from here. In as much as you specify the provider, it's not core critical here. What is critical comes on your configuration of your peer, which is your SIP tracking provider, say Twilio or Zadama or Telnix, Libo, talking to MediaSFU effectively. So one, make sure your contact number is absolutely right. Then the next side is your peer. This is uh, the uh, ultimate, absolute and ultimate thing you need to get right. And it's pretty much not that hard, but could easily be misconfigured. So your host, your port, and your transport, and then your authentication. Mostly for SIP systems, for telephony systems, um, if you try to make an outbound call, an outgoing call, MediaSFU tries to route to your tracking service, but mostly challenging. So you need a unique username and a password, which you have to configure there and then sync with MediaSFU. There's an optional backup here. Probably want to use different providers. That's still fine. Optional things like network and security, where you want to get requests from. Uh, I'm just gonna leave this as it is. And then another key part is templates and audio. So templates and audio, um, for the audios that get played. I mean, somebody joins welcome and hold, goodbye, and the like. If you would want to indicate, okay, this is a fixed audio URL, maybe www.my website/welcome audio. Yes, if you pay that. If you want a dynamic text that gets generated as a text to speech, then you just write it in there. And so far as that, at least you have a text to speech AI credential, MediaSFU is going to pick that and then run it and play it back to the SIP caller. So we do know people build SIP configs with absolutely no AI agents. Think of a classic call center, which has humans attending to a call. You could do away with indicating any of these, but still, we recommend at least having a text to speech in the case that it might fall back to generating such dynamic text. So, in summary, I'm not going to touch any of the audio links as we have in here. They'll just default to MediaSFU's uh, default audios. And mostly, if you don't provide a link or a text here to be played back, and then MediaSFU needs it, it's going to default to one of its versions. So you absolutely play nothing in that case, which you are sure you don't want any sound, you can reference the MediaSFU's silenced file basically just dumb and silent work for this for a short time, as opposed to trying to fall back on one of its pre-configured options. So that's a critical part. And then advanced part, um, this has everything to do with extra parameters, your MCP, and things you want to optimize and focus. I'm just going to switch to the telephony guide that to provide more context for this. So the developers, if we go to the our SIP telephony engine, we open this in a new tab. If you take a look at this, if you go to an extra fields part, we have all your extra things you could have in there, as in your MCP, your machine linear, Zendex, Calendly, Airtable, and the like. So every MCP you could probably configure other things related to um, transcripts, agents, summaries, generation, and the like. You could use this as a guide and then provide whatever needs to be run in the extra part as well as the keys that needs to be provided. So this gives you a brief on the extra fields. Now, like I mentioned, taking a look at our SIP configuration, we have one, our HTTP endpoint, which technically just requires your API key and username as you've seen so far. You make a request, and so far as the call is running and active, you are gonna have the call detail. And if you want to control, hold, play some custom text, and every supported thing is documented here. So once you get a SIP call ID from your list request, you can just pass that SIP call ID into any of the flows, and then you are good to go. So let's go back to configuring our SIP trunking, and I'll demonstrate this using Trello. If you're using any other provider, it's pretty much not that hard. In here, you usually want to go to the critical setup that shows you how MediaSFU should talk to your SIP tracking number. Then for some of the popular providers, we have a guide in here showing how to, let me just zoom in a bit, zoom out. So most of the providers, we have a guide in here showing how to configure the key part, as I mentioned, the peer part. But I'm still going to demonstrate with Trello here interactively to kind of provide us with a clear understanding. Okay, so let's just go to the dashboard, and sorry, I'm going to go to Trello rather.